Want to know a word that makes a lot of people squeamish? It's not taxes. It's not sex. It's power. Hey, Adele, Wang here, and welcome to the podcast where we explore all things around this human experience in a rapidly changing world. Recently, I was having lunch with a colleague. She is a leadership coach, works with a lot of prominent people. And as we were enjoying our salad, she was talking about her passion in empowering leaders. She loves helping leaders find their voice, lose their fear around what other people think of them. And as she was talking, I realized we have a very complicated relationship with the word power. In the corporate world, especially in the leadership and coaching world, it seems like a lot of people are allergic to the word power. It sounds dirty. It sounds like corruption, sounds like command and control. And a lot of people are actually uncomfortable with having a look at the power they have. So what have we done with this word? Oftentimes we've rebranded it. We call it empowerment. We love that word. It feels safe. It feels internal. It feels like yoga. But here's the problem. By changing the word, we hid the danger. Because now I see a generation of leaders who think they're empowered, but they're just actually abrasive. Sometimes just being a real jerk to people because they don't understand the tool that they are holding. So I think it's time that we get real clear and clear-eyed about the word power, because there are two definitions of power. And if they collide, sometimes we have a problem. So the first definition of power is self-empowerment. That's the internal game. And that's what we learn from therapy and coaching. And it's about agency, finding your voice, standing in your truth, not letting others dim your light. Don't worry about what other people think about you. And the goal of self-empowerment is to feel safe and capable in your own skin. And that's a good thing. The second definition of power is what I call positional power. It's instead of the internal game, it's more the physics, perhaps more the mechanics. And this is the messy reality I think sometimes people get a little squeamish about or they ignore. Because positional power is about impact, the ability to move resources, control over money, hire and fire, control over other people's livelihoods and their lives. And the goal of this power is to move the machine forward. So I've noticed that when these two things collide in an unexpected way, we can get something what I call the crash. Basically, it's where good kids become bad bosses. It's where the disaster happens. Like you could take a leader who has real positional power, a CEO or a founder, and you give them empowerment advice. You tell them, don't worry about what other people think. Stop people pleasing, ignore the noise. And that is great advice for an underdog. But it can be terrible advice for a king or queen. Because when a powerful person stops caring what people think, they literally don't care what other people think. They don't really become empowered. They become blind because they lose the feedback loop. They become a bulldozer. I think we can all think of people in this world who are perhaps commanding millions, if not billions of dollars in a positional powerful, straight place. And perhaps everyone around them is kind of alarmed at their behavior, at their decisions. People are afraid of them. They can be abrasive, abusive, irrational. And my thought on this is, I don't know if people at this level of power started life thinking that way. Meaning, I don't believe that most of them, when they were 4 or 5 years old, had the thought that when they grew up, they wanted to be the most obnoxious, rude, abrasive, maybe even abusive leader on planet Earth. I don't think people start off their lives thinking that way. But something happens along the way. What is it that happens along the way that changes someone from when they were 5 with aspirations to perhaps a tyrant behavior? There's a researcher named Nick Kinley who wrote a book called The Power Trap. He found that when people get power, they literally suffer brain damage. Basically, their empathy centers shut down. And if we aren't clear-eyed about this, if we just keep telling powerful people to be more empowered, we are literally accelerating that brain damage. We are helping them actually isolate themselves. And this is going to be even more important as I'm working with leaders and AI. Because if we don't understand how power moves, if the thought and the concept of this has everyone filled with dread, then we can't work with it. So if the concept of power brings up a lot for you, perhaps you're thinking of times where you have felt very disempowered around authority. Maybe the thought of power brings up bad memories from when you were a child. Or it makes you squirm that anyone would think that you had power in this world. This is a really good topic for us to sit with and unpack so that we can be more wise in moving forward in this rapidly changing world and not operating with this issue in our blind spot. We need to stop being so squeamish about this and start being more responsible. Because to me, working with both sides of this, real power isn't about ignoring other people and totally not caring what other people think. Real power is about having the strength to listen to others without losing your center. So real power doesn't mean you shut down your empathy centers so that when you walk into a room of people, you totally cannot read the room anymore because you just don't care what they think. That is not what we're hoping to accomplish. If you are a leader, maybe stop asking, am I empowered? There are a lot of people who are empowered but are doing things that are not in everyone's best interest. Instead of asking if you're empowered, start asking if you are connected. That is the only safety mechanism against the power trap. So, have a thought. How are you with this dynamic of power? Your internal power and your external positional power. And can the two come together in a way that's bigger than the sum of its parts? And if you are wanting to do that, what is your mechanism? How do you do that without diluting yourself and becoming something of completely of the saying, power corrupts absolutely, absolute power corrupts absolutely. That is what we have seen before. And how can you use your connectiveness for stronger leadership, both internally and externally, when you're looking at resources, power over money, power over people's livelihoods? Till next time, rock on.